My two brothers and I have always been inseparable since childhood. There's John, the eldest, Steve, the youngest, and me, Lucy, the only girl in the family. Now in our 30s, I'm confident that our sibling bond is stronger than most. Our closeness stemmed from our parents' busy schedules. Both worked tirelessly, leaving us to rely on each other. We weren't exactly angels. Each of us had our fair share of mischief. Our mother became a frequent visitor at our school, reprimanding us as needed. John, however, was notorious in our hometown for his rebellious streak. Academics were far from his priority. He preferred mischief and adventures over textbooks. Steve and I, perhaps learning from John's escapades, managed to steer clear of causing too much concern. Without extra tutoring or intense studying, we effortlessly landed in the top ranks of our class. Maybe we just knew how to navigate the system. Steve and I excelled in school, and there was always a playful rivalry between us about who would be the most successful. Being good at studying doesn't guarantee a successful future. I'll be the most successful among our classmates, just wait and see, I would say, but Steve often teased back. Usually, those who say that are the first to settle down. My money's on me. Despite our banter, these debates were regular parts of our conversations, but they were always grounded in mutual respect and love. John, although laid back, had a kind heart and a solid foundation. Steve approached everything with caution and responsibility, and I was the one forging ahead without dwelling too much on the future. Together, we formed an unbeatable trio. John started at a public high school but dropped out after 6 months, drifting through life ever since. He never held a steady job, occasionally pitching in at a friend's auto shop or local bars, simply going with the flow. Seeing my brother in this state only strengthened my determination to succeed, especially since I felt partially responsible for John ending up in evening school. It all started the day I was involved in a serious traffic accident, leaving me with severe injuries. John, deeply concerned for me, rushed me to the hospital. His worry and care for my well-being led him to quit high school. I've carried a sense of guilt about that ever since, believing that if I achieve success, I can help John find his way again. During that period, my mind was consumed with thoughts of the future and the paths to success, searching for ways to involve John. As I entered high school, I took on a part-time job to save money, believing money was crucial no matter the endeavor. I worked diligently to accumulate as much as possible. "Steve, have you seen John lately? He hasn't been around much," I asked one day. Just as I suspected, "I wonder what he's gotten himself into. I hope he's not causing trouble," Steve replied. Months passed without John returning home, leaving us worried. Then one day, John returned home as if nothing had happened. "Where have you been? You could have at least let us know." We were all so worried. I said to him, "I apologize. I've been caught up with my part-time job," he explained. "If that's the reason, just tell us." Steve and I were worried sick too. "I'm really sorry about that." He shared that he had secured a promising job out of state where he stayed overnight, entrusting me with almost all of his earnings for safekeeping. He urged me to combine it with my savings from the part-time job. At the time, I didn't grasp his motives, but he insisted, so I took charge of the money. However, John soon reverted to idling at home without any clear direction. While he never landed a full-time job, he occasionally took on part-time work, which seemed to satisfy our parents. After high school, I was eager to pursue a thorough study of business administration in college. Thankfully, my strong academic performance earned me a full scholarship, easing the financial burden on our parents. This achievement also filled my brothers with pride. It was during this period that John began to show signs of change. "How much longer are you going to live like this without a full-time job? How do you expect to marry the girl you like?" I asked him one day. "Well, there's actually a company that's been showing interest through a colleague, but I'm undecided," he responded. "You have such an opportunity? What kind of company is it?" I inquired further. "Construction. It's the site where I've been doing part-time work for the past few months. Not sure if I see myself doing it forever. It starts early in the morning. You should take it if you've got the chance. Give it your best shot. Encouraged by my firm push, John took on the job full-time the following week. Surprisingly, it suited him better than expected. Contrary to our family's expectations, he showed up on time and without complaints. Seeing John thrive, I decided to pursue a career in architecture. I believed establishing myself in the only field my brother, without higher education, had mastered would secure his future. During vocational school, I continued working part-time and managed to save enough to buy a relatively expensive car. Living with my parents certainly helped, but I was proud of my savings. My mother, understanding my dedication to saving, quietly supported me by packing my lunches every day, minimizing unnecessary expenses. Her unwavering support meant the world to me. After graduating from vocational school, I joined a well-connected company to build my network, earned numerous certifications, and diligently prepared for independence while fostering relationships. Meanwhile, John remained dedicated to his job, allowing me to focus on laying the groundwork for my own business venture. Eventually, I launched my own company, but at first, I hesitated to invite John to join. Financially, I couldn't afford both of us taking a risk simultaneously, so I opted to observe for a while. I dove headfirst into work, leveraging all my prior preparations, and my carefully assembled team performed exceptionally well. Following my lead, we enjoyed a strong start. During this time, John moved out of our parents' home and began living independently, which made our meetings less frequent. I, too, was consumed with work and couldn't keep in touch regularly. A year into running my business, I finally extended an official offer to him. John, my company is finally stable now. I have something else to offer you. What I want to do next is expand the business further, and I need your help. Can you assist me? I don't think there's anything I can do, he replied hesitantly. I want you to become the president of the current company and take a leading role. What? That's impossible for me. You need to consider who you're asking, John said, surprised. I'm asking you sincerely and with careful thought. Plus, the money you entrusted to me earlier, I used part of it as capital when I started the company. I convinced John to join me and paired him with a secretary who seemed to click well with him, ensuring he learned all the ropes of the company. Taking on the role of chairman, I focused on supporting John while laying the groundwork for our next venture. My childhood dream was to create a charming and Instagram-worthy cafe that could rival any other. Excited to pursue this vision without compromise, I immersed myself in studying the restaurant industry. Around this time, my younger brother Steve embarked on his path to becoming an architect, a plan I had suggested. Steve would design buildings while John oversaw their construction. It was the perfect synergy. I took responsibility for securing enough projects to sustain us, diligently preparing to turn this vision into reality in the near future. As John entered his second year as company president, he surprised us all by announcing his upcoming marriage. Who is she? John hasn't always had the best judgment. I'm concerned, I admit it, I said. I'll introduce her to everyone soon, John reassured us. We looked forward to meeting her, though John's impending marriage brought mixed emotions for me. We had always been a tight-knit trio, so the thought of an outsider joining us unsettled me. Nevertheless, I knew I had to set aside my unease and celebrate my brother's happiness. At a family gathering with both sides present, I finally met John's fiancée, Bella. While I didn't outwardly oppose their union, and things appeared to progress smoothly, I couldn't shake a sense of distress from our first interaction. Bella, I'm Lucy, John's sister. Please take good care of my brother, I said, masking my reservations with a polite smile. It's wonderful to have such a caring sister. If you ever need anything, just let me know. After all, I'll soon be the wife of the eldest son and the company president. You'll have to come through me from now on, all right? Bella was the same age as John and worked in an administrative role at one of our client companies. My initial impression of her was that she was determined and assertive. Our perspectives seemed somewhat different, and she wasn't quite my type. Yet, I thought her personality might complement John's. Steve shared my thoughts, but we both agreed to support their marriage for now. She seems a bit serious, but if John loves her, we're behind you both, wishing you all the happiness. I told them. A few years ago, I couldn't have imagined marriage, let alone someone approaching me for it. From then on, I was constantly on the move due to the new projects we had undertaken, making my days incredibly busy. Meanwhile, John was fully occupied with wedding preparations, spurred on by Bella's desire for an early ceremony. Before we knew it, the wedding day had arrived, since, as we embarked on our new project, the excitement among the three of us was palpable. Steve began drafting the blueprints for our future home, his creativity flowing as he envisioned a space that would not only accommodate our needs, but also reflect the unique bond we shared. He pored over every detail, from the open concept living area that would be perfect for family gatherings, to the private corners where each of us could retreat when needed. Meanwhile, I took on the task of finding the perfect plot of land. I scoured the city and surrounding areas, visiting countless locations, each time imagining how it would feel to build our dream home there. After weeks of searching, I finally found a beautiful piece of land on the outskirts of town. It was peaceful, surrounded by nature, yet close enough to the city for convenience. I could already picture our future home standing proudly on that land, a symbol of our enduring bond. John, true to his word, took charge of the construction. His experience in the field, coupled with his newfound dedication, made him the perfect person for the job. He worked tirelessly, coordinating with contractors, overseeing the construction process, and ensuring that every brick laid was done with care and precision. Seeing him so focused and driven was a source of pride for both Steve and me. As the months passed, our dream home began to take shape. The foundation was laid, the walls were erected, and the roof was finally put in place. Each visit to the construction site filled us with a sense of accomplishment. We often stood together, imagining the life we would lead in this house, a life filled with laughter, shared meals, and the comfort of knowing we would always have each other. During this time, our parents watched our progress with a mix of pride and amusement. They had always known that the three of us were inseparable, but seeing us work together to build a future was something that warmed their hearts. You three have always been a force to be reckoned with, our mother would say, her eyes twinkling with pride. But this is something special. As the house neared completion, we began discussing the next steps. What would our lives look like once we moved in? How would we balance our work, our personal lives, and our new responsibilities as homeowners? These were questions we hadn't fully explored yet, but we were confident that we could navigate whatever challenges came our way. One evening, as we sat around a campfire on the property, enjoying the cool breeze and the sound of crickets in the distance, John broke the silence. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about the future," he said, staring into the flames. "For the first time in a long while, I feel like I'm on the right path. And it's all because of you two. You never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself." Steve and I exchanged glances, both of us touched by John's words. "We've always been there for each other, John," I replied softly. "That's what siblings do, and we'll keep doing that no matter what." John nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "I know. And that's why I want to make sure that this house isn't just a place where we live. It's a place where we continue to grow together. Maybe one day, we'll even start our own families here." The thought of starting families hadn't crossed my mind much, but hearing John speak of it made me realize how far we had come. We had built our lives around each other, and now we were building a home that could potentially become a haven for future generations. As we sat there, talking about our hopes and dreams for the future, I felt a deep sense of contentment. We had faced many challenges, both individually and as a family, but we had always come through stronger on the other side. And now, as we stood on the brink of a new chapter in our lives, I knew that whatever the future held, we would face it together, just as we always had. The house was completed a few months later, and moving in was an emotional experience for all of us. As we unpacked our belongings and arranged the furniture, the house quickly began to feel like home. It was a space filled with love, laughter, and the promise of many happy years to come. In the following months, we settled into our new lives. Steve continued to excel in his career as an architect, designing buildings that were not only functional, but also works of art. John, now fully committed to his role as president of our company, led with confidence and vision, transforming our business into a thriving enterprise. And I, finally realizing my dream, opened a chain of successful cafes that became the talk of the town. But no matter how busy our lives became, we always made time for each other. Whether it was a simple dinner at home, a weekend trip to the countryside, or just sitting together in the living room sharing stories from our day, the bond we shared remained as strong as ever. Looking back, I realized that our journey had been anything but ordinary. We had faced hardships, made mistakes, and taken risks, but through it all, we had remained true to ourselves and to each other. And as I stood on the balcony of our home one evening, watching the sun set over the horizon, I knew that whatever the future held, we were ready to face it together.